Good afternoon. Thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate you being here. We're going to have Mayor Hodges say a few words, followed by Chief Harteau, and then we will be available and open it up to questions. Mayor Hodges.
Today is a hard day for everyone in the city of Minneapolis. Many people are feeling hurt, anger, disappointment, frustration, mistrust in a system that has not worked for everyone. My heart breaks for the loss of Jamar Clark's life and for the pain felt by everybody involved in this incident. There is a tear that has ripped through our community, one we cannot sew back up. Together as a city and as a people, we can walk through this tear to build what we all want, a city that is safe and a city that is equitable for everyone. I absolutely support the right to express those emotions and to demonstrate peaceably. It is as much the job of the city of Minneapolis to facilitate the peaceful expression of free speech as it is to keep everyone safe, residents, businesses, visitors, police officers, bystanders, and demonstrators. I thank County Attorney Mike Freeman for his transparency, his professionalism, and his willingness to be publicly accountable for his decision. I also appreciate his thorough explanation of the process that he and his office followed to reach the decision, as well as his choice to release all of the evidence obtained during the course of the investigation. I want to talk about what the legal process is going to look like moving forward. In addition to the independent investigation by the BCA, the chief and I requested a separate federal investigation by the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. Once that investigation has been completed, the Civil Rights Division and U.S. Attorney will determine whether the federal government will bring any charges. Once that investigation concludes, MPD will thoroughly review all available evidence from the independent investigations and will be able to make a decision regarding discipline moving forward from there. Chief Harteau will follow, but I want to say a word of thanks. I am joined today by many members of the Minneapolis City Council, and I appreciate that we are able to stand here together this afternoon on behalf of the city of Minneapolis. Chief Harteau.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to first acknowledge that this event has obviously been tragic for everyone, including the Clark family, but also including our officers. I want to respect the process and the independent nature of the investigation and County Attorney Mike Freeman's decision to make that decision independently and on his own. I appreciate his transparency, thoroughness. As the mayor said, we still have the Department of Justice investigation, and I will also have Minneapolis Police internal investigations, so questions you may have might limit my ability to answer those. I want to reassure the public that public safety is still our #1 priority. We do pride ourselves in ensuring that we will protect and provide safe spaces for people to express their feelings and their thoughts. But we will also ensure public safety for everyone. That includes protesters, bystanders, and police officers. With that, we'll open up for questions.
Chief, can you address, there was a couple of questions about the two officers being in the same car immediately after the shooting took place. Is that standard practice to put two potential suspects in the same car?
There again, this is the first time I've heard of the details as you. I heard this in real time just like you did, so I haven't had an opportunity to be able to analyze that. That will be something that we will look at as far as the internal review.
Can you also speak to, Freeman said that the officer used a takedown tactic learned from a previous department. Curious if whatever that tactic is a method also taught here.
Again, that'll be something that will be in the review.
Chief or Mayor Hodges, are you concerned at all that it appears no matter what amount of evidence there is, physical and otherwise, there are members of the community who simply refuse to believe any bit of it, and they voiced those concerns directly to Hennepin County Attorney Freeman, and in fact, one of them said, if this town burns, it's on you. What is your response to that and their response to the evidence that he laid out?
Well, first I would say I'm not surprised that people have their own opinions, regardless of what was presented today. And we have contingency plans in place for a multitude of scenarios. We are working closely with our community leaders and organizers to ensure that we don't get to that level.
Mayor Hodges.
And I would just add to that, again, giving credit to the county attorney, that he made clear that he chose not to use a grand jury and chose to make the decision himself, in part so he could make all the evidence that he could make available, that he can make it available. And that's part of the reason he chose to make the decision himself. And so I commend him for putting out as much of the evidence as he can so people can see what there is.
Do you find the evidence to be overwhelming?
I saw the same press conference you all saw, and have been busy making sure that we are a safe community. I have not had a chance to look at the evidence.
Chief, have you seen any of the evidence prior to today?
I saw a portion of the video, one of the videos from the rear of the ambulance during just a portion of the takedown.
And you said you're not prepared to speak at this point as to whether that takedown was appropriate?
Correct. That'll be a part of the internal review.
Chief, can you explain why there were no?
I can only hear one person at a time.
Talk to me. What do you make of this? What are we to make of this document? Is there going to be a city administrative review of evidence for investigations for potential discipline now that the decision not to charge has been made? What's the point of this document?
The point of this document is to, and it was put together by the city, is to let people know what the process is from here forward, and to indicate that there's also an ongoing federal investigation, and we as a city and the chief and I have to wait to the conclusion of that investigation before we can conclude any internal affairs review, the internal affairs review that we will do, and that the city is already doing.
Chief Harteau, can you comment on one thing with it? Was this what they call a conscious neck restraint that was used to take Jamar Clark down? And what are the point? Is that policy of the Minneapolis Police Department?
Again, any policy questions have to be part of the review. Right now, I would have to make that decision and determination based on just what I heard in real time with you. And so we need to have a thorough investigative review into that in our policies and procedures to make that determination.
Can you explain, Chief, why there would be DNA on the gun, on the officer's gun, but not fingerprints?
Fingerprints are challenging to recover, but I think that is a greater question for the investigators, the BCA.
Chief, it's been presumed, but I don't think officially confirmed, that both these officers are white. Can you confirm that at this point?
Yes.
Chief, can you talk at all about the precautions you do have in place if there is violence in protest? You warned about it last week a little bit.
I would just say that we certainly have contingency plans within the department. We've been working closely with Hennepin County Sheriff's Department, Metro Transit, and the Minnesota State Patrol.
Chief, I know that you mentioned that you are interested in protecting not only the citizens, the police, but also the protesters. And so when the other person shared their notion about what plans are put in place as far as response to protesters, are you all intentionally seeking to protect and exercise restraint as it relates to the potential protests and occupation of the various spaces, activating one's First Amendment rights as it relates to the
Yes.
situation?
Yes. Officers will exercise restraint. Their actions will be based on actions of others. The guide for us always is public safety risk. And so there may be times where, whether it's traffic flow, if it's a public safety risk or we need to get medical personnel or law enforcement personnel through, then that's when that will change. But that will always be the guiding principle, is that public safety on all accounts.
Chief, any regrets about the video message you sent to protesters or people in the community a few days ahead of this? Do you think that helped or hurt in terms of what might happen today?
There's all kinds of thoughts on that. My intention obviously was a balance. It was the balance of protecting the freedom of speech, providing people a safe environment to be able to speak, but to ensure that we had public safety. There are many people that are very concerned about the level of violence in the city, none more than me. And I wanted to ensure and reassure people that we are prepared to address any violence.
Mayor, was it a
Time
good
for two
idea?
more questions.
We understand that the majority of people who are demonstrating, either before or right now, intend to do so to exercise their First Amendment rights. They intend to be peaceful as they do their demonstrating, and we understand that. We also have experience with people who don't have that as their main goal, and we also have to make sure that we are addressing that. I support the intent of the video that the chief put out. There may be some images in that could have been changed, but overall today, the biggest concern that we have together as a city, as city leadership, is for the safety of everyone here in the city.
What about the job assignment of the two officers? We know there's been a fight for them to get back
Yeah,
to their
can you
original
repeat?
post. About the job assignment of the two officers, that they're on desk duty and they've been fighting to get back to their original assignment.
They're currently on non-enforcement duties.
When will that change?
I don't know right now.
Last question.
How do you respond to complaints that the city hasn't done anything, hasn't done enough, the department hasn't done anything or enough to respond to concerns about racial equity and the behavior of the police department?
First, I respond by saying I understand that people are frustrated, and I understand that people are asking questions about a system that they often feel doesn't work for them, or at least doesn't work for everybody. And that the chief and I have been partners in doing the work of transformation into a 21st century police department my entire 2 years as mayor, and the chief before that. And that just in recent months, 2/3 of our police officers have gone through procedural justice training. 61% of our most recent community service officer class are people of color. And we are participants in the National Initiative for Building Community Trust and Justice, and have been moving forward on all the pillars of that: procedural justice, implicit bias, and reconciliation work. Just last Thursday, I met with the chief and I met with the PCRC, the group that put together the Federal Mediation Agreement in 2003, and walked through what great work and important foundational work they had done, talked about what had been done and what hadn't been done. I apologized on behalf of the city for the places where that work had not moved forward as it should have, and the chief on behalf of the department, and we are moving forward from there as part of the national initiative.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.